some on the executive council when you had the conference call to talk about the issues and eventually make Casey Mann the interim ED. Some of the executive council had issues with you muting them. They feel like that you didn't give them enough time to talk about the issues or something. Can you address that?
Can you further kind of flesh out the question exactly? Are you basically...
Well, the question is, how was the conference call handled? I guess that's the question.
Okay, we can start with it. First of all, the conference call could have been handled a lot better. I can explain why, obviously why, but, when you mess up, fess up. I mean, what we had was a situation where some of the folks did not come back to their posts, and then they resigned. And that would include our communications person. And another person who has handled these conference calls, his father was getting surgery in South Carolina, so he was gone. And that would be normally what he did. That would be the political director, Doug Wilson. So suddenly we had a situation with weather upon us, an awful lot of stress coming upon us, and I think it could have been handled better had we had a more robust conference system. But the system they had was a normal shareware system, and as Senator McKissick suggested, we should just invest in getting a system that you pay for, where you can have a moderator that can handle it. What happened was the call volume was so great, and there were folks that kept trying to call in. It was jamming the system, and it was not making it operate very well. So it created it created a problem. I mean, people really couldn't be heard. It kept jamming up and muting up. I didn't enjoy it. It was like a trip to the dentist. I mean, it's not what should. I prefer face-to-face meetings, George, where you can all sit there, talk it out, and look at each other. In all of my years of municipal work and all the boards I've served on, whether they're nonprofit or community boards, they're all face-to-face meetings. So the whole idea of doing these conference calls like that really is kind of alien to me in the first place.
Yeah, I understand. Well, let me ask you this. The very next day it was in the News and Observer that Beth Wood, she's the auditor for the state of North Carolina, that she wrote you an email and she wants her $500 back that she donated. Is that true?
She did write an email, and she did send that some message out to the SEC, and I have been in communication with her. Anybody who gives to any campaign can ask for their money back. My only quibble with our state auditor is the reasons that she may cite. If she just wants her money back because she wants to give it to other Democrats, that's normal. I mean, when Bev Perdue decided not to run, there were lots of people that asked for their money back. I think my good friend Dewey Sheffield down there said, hey, you can do that, because she wasn't going to run, and of course she still ended up with money in her account, even into into 2013. So that's normal. But if somebody, and I won't pick on the auditor, but if somebody says, hey, I want my money back because you're a crook, well, that's a whole different ballgame, and you can't make accusations that aren't true. All right? You can personally ask for your money back for anything, just say, I woke up this morning and I want my money back, that's fine.
Yeah.
But you can't tie it to something that's not factual. There has to be a factual, rational nexus if you're going to make statements about why. But if you just say, I want it back, okay, you want it back.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, anyone's entitled to the money back. I mean, that happens all the time.
Well, I think what she said...
You're not entitled to make accusations that aren't true.
Yeah, well, I think what she said, and I'm getting this from the News Observer, was that she didn't have confidence that the money would actually go to the campaigns, to the candidates.
Well, she has a further email that's a little longer, and, it starts getting further into this confidence. I mean, I don't know where that confidence issue comes in. When I got into office, the 2010 and 2011 audits had not been done. There had been debt that had been accumulated. We retired a lot of the debt. It turns out that you were required to report it, and I reported to the Executive Council last February and March, and then the meeting I called in April, that I said, look, these audits aren't any good if they don't report to you that you have liabilities. George, I'm a business person, and all the audits I've ever done, and then when I was the mayor the same way, you look at the balance sheet and you see what your liabilities are. Well, these were not doing that because they were audits on the basis of cash basis, not on accrual. Therefore, you're not reporting that you owed money. Well, I said, how could you have an organization where you come in here and you have debt going back to 2010, involving, one of them I think involves Senator Swindell's race, where there was a big lawsuit about that, and that was still money that was owed to various law firms. Others had to do with the redistricting case. So we got those two audits done. We're almost going to be done with the 2012 audit. I don't know how much more confidence you need. We have a compliance staff. We brought in outside folks that were highly recommended and work with people in D.C. and down here. And, you can ask John Wallace what he thinks. He's been with the party for an awful long time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty confident with what I see.
Well, let me ask you this. When you walked in, there was a lot of debt. I've heard a lot of things. Where did that debt come from? I mean, when you walked into the place, it was almost like a wasteland. I mean, what happened? How did it get like that? Where did the debt come from?
Well, it got like that for a couple of reasons. Number one, when we lost in 2010 the control of the legislature, we lost essentially millions of dollars of transactional donors. And that's the part of politics that really tends to upset progressives or upset the base vote that says, this is kind of big money getting their way, right? Lobbyists and PAC money and other folks that they're giving to you because you're in power, or they're giving to the House and Senate caucus because they want to be able to have some influence on legislation that has to do with their interests.
Yeah.
So that money, if you look at it, it walks over to the GOP.
Mm-hmm.
So you lost that. We lost and a lot of people retired. So you lost, or they were appointed to positions. Bass Knight went out, Tony Rand, so forth and so on. And then there had been a period of time where, when I got in there and I started looking at the donor files, that they had not been calling these donors for years. And so a lot of people that say, I'm upset with the Democratic Party, when I would talk to them, had nothing to do with Randy Voller, although getting bad press certainly doesn't help my cause. But initially what I was hearing, and we still hear, has to go back to things all the way back to Bev Perdue and Mike Easley. It's just this idea that, there had been corruption, and this idea that people were angry about certain outcomes that had happened in the past. And of course, we're no longer in power, so we can't, effectuate outcomes people want right now. And that's why, I was advocating for a build process where we built the foundation, that we went in and we invested in our county operations, like I did in Chatham, where we led the state in turnout in 2008 and 2012.
Amen.
And built from the bottom up. I said, and I keep talking to candidates and saying, the easiest and cleanest way, if you're a political candidate, to gain support is to go to your local party and talk to them about how you can work with them to raise money for them and help them in their needs. And I said, that will pay back to you 2, 3, 4, 5 times, because they got the volunteers and they got the people that will carry your water around the community. Helping them get an office will make them loyal to you and happy.
Absolutely.
But a lot of folks become focused on the individual, and they forget that this is a party of ideas. This is a party of values, not a cult of personality. I mean, I'm irrelevant. I mean, look, I'm who I am, but if what's more important to me is a legacy of ideas and values. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
It's not about me.
And that's why you were elected. I think a lot of people, including myself, voted for you because of that, getting back to the grassroots county parties. And I appreciate that approach, because I was this is Bram talking, literally Asa Gregory talking. I was chair of the Wilson County Democratic Party. So, I mean, we struggled for, you mentioned 2010 and A.B. Swindell. I mean, that brought back some headaches in my head. Because we did struggle, and I appreciate the fact that you're looking to support the county parties, because that's how we win.
That's exactly how we win, Asa, is getting in and building these county organizations. And it doesn't take as much money as all these geniuses will tell you. That's the other problem. I found out that there was so much money, and David Parker had the same issue. So some of my problems I inherited from David, just because he was already embroiled in these same issues.
Right.
There are folks that they make their living running campaigns, but they don't really, it doesn't matter if they win or lose. They get paid regardless.